Coming up on the Valor Flight Crew podcast, we team up with our friend Jack Schonely from the Hangar Z Podcast as we sit down with Woody McClendon and have an open, candid discussion about a topic in aviation that often goes unseen: fatigue.
We don't get a good night's sleep. We are fighting with our spouse. Our kids were playing all day long and kept us up. The dog wouldn't stop barking throughout the day. Whatever this may be, right? Like there's all of these external factors, or maybe we had a really busy weekend because we had to go to all these kids' events. Whatever it may be, we show up to work thinking we're in this good headspace, that we got enough sleep, or we know for a fact we probably didn't, and we're just banking on the fact that, you know what, it's okay, I only got 3 hours of sleep. I'm going to be able to nap when I get to work, right? Like, and I think that we trick ourselves on this daily basis of thinking that we're not really as tired as what we actually are. And we come up with every excuse of why we can do it, but we refuse to think of a reason why we shouldn't.
Welcome back to the Valor Flight Crew podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts and partnered with Vertical Valor Plus. Today's episode is a special collaboration with our friends at the Hangar Z Podcast as we tackle one of the most significant threats in aviation safety: fatigue. Joining us is Hangar Z host Jack Schonely and veteran HEMS pilot Woody McClendon. Together, we discuss how fatigue impacts our decision-making, our situational awareness, crew performance, and safety, all while sharing real-world lessons learned from decades in aviation. So sit back, settle in, as the conversation starts now. Thank you to our sponsors: Copter Safety, Metro Aviation, and Precision Aviation Group.
Welcome to the Valor Flight Crew podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicast, produced in partnership with Echo, Every Coast Helicopter Operations. The Valor Flight Crew podcast promotes the personnel and life-saving equipment behind helicopter air ambulance services. Join hosts Mike Fideli and Blake Schreider for in-depth interviews and expert insights from air medical personnel, pilots, communication specialists, and maintenance crews who play critical roles in airborne emergency response.
Line 1 accepting.
Copy, Line 1, gotcha, accepting. You're going to be talking to Red Feather 1 on LCEMS.
It's true in public safety. It's certainly true in law enforcement too, where you're depending on that crew ahead of you. Did they have it together? You know, did they check this stuff? Did they do a post-flight? And I would imagine, especially in the HEMS world, that, you know, all the equipment and all the supplies, it's a flying ambulance, right? I mean, all those supplies, is everything topped off? Is everything there so that if you need it? I mean, that must be a huge thing. And now maybe you're coming in on day watch, and now you're hoping that the people that were overnight and are definitely fatigued, you know, that you're trusting them, right? I mean, you're putting a lot of trust in them to do the right thing and do the procedures and all that.
And I think Woody would attest to this for flying and being around med crews. We know we're a special bunch, but you know that crew that was up all night. So when day crew comes in and they're all like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And like the overall tone is just like nobody's saying anything. And you're like, rough night. And they're like, "Yeah, we're up all night. I think I got everything put back."
Yes.
So like you're kind of like, now I got to be on my game a little bit, right?
Yeah. Talk about that, Woody. You have a lot of experience in that area. Talk about that.
I mean, I think it's a huge challenge. My experience with fatigue as well is that I end up in a really dark mood. I have a really negative attitude, and I'm not a particularly nice person on a good day, but I found I had to work very hard when you got rotated in the nights to be civil. And I thought, you have to do this. You owe it to these guys to be civil. That's the only way you're going to get through this. And you don't have a right not to be civil. It was that big an internal challenge for me. And I think I did a pretty good job at it. And everybody seemed to, pretty much everybody liked me. And the more I got into particularly the native air experience, where we were so close together, you develop a deep respect for your med crew teammates. They said, watching what they do, you think these are amazing people, and they're living in the same shit environment you are, in terms of rest and challenge, and so let's stay close. That's the only way that we can save ourselves is to be close and
Mhm.
and positive to each other, supportive, and you're right, Jack. I think that nobody teaches you that. I mean, I haven't been around the medical business on the employee side for a long time, but from what I know from my friends, the employee training hasn't changed that much. They love to avoid the dark side of what the people do, but it becomes a challenge, a personal challenge for each person on that team to say to themselves, okay, I'm tired. This job is really tough, but the last thing I need to do is take this out on my buds on the shift. We're all in the same boat together. We got to take care of each other. And I saw pilots, and you guys have seen pilots that really have not thought that through, and they come to work grumpy, and I remember seeing guys come. If I was on a day shift, one of the guys is coming in at night, and he's grumpy, and you think, you don't have the right to do that. You do not have the right to do that. But in trying to answer the question here, Jack, I think we each have to realize in that kind of job, you take on a huge personal responsibility to support your teammates.
Mhm.
So, and if you ignore that responsibility, again, like a lot of pilots I knew, you do so at everybody's risk, because if things really do start to unwind, with the aircraft or the weather or whatever, you really need to be bonded very tightly with each other and to get yourselves out of the mess.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's my thought.
No, that kind of leads into something that Mike, that you made as one of the points we wanted to talk about. I think this might be one of the most important things we talk about: fatigue self-assessments in the
Mhm.
presence of a mission request. There are external pressures, there's internal pressures, there's personal pressures to get the job done. We wouldn't be in this business if we weren't the type of people that want to go help people and get the job done. But in flying and in aviation, there's another layer there that comes into play. We want to get there every time, but there's times when maybe we shouldn't go. Talk about the fatigue self-assessment. When you mentioned that topic, what does that mean to you? And what are the things that maybe you do personally to self-assess?
So I think I'd like to start that with a question back to you, Jack, in saying, when those tones go off, has there ever been a time for you, or when that call for help comes out, has there ever been a time for you where you have not felt more of an internal pressure to get out that door and go help?
No, that pressure was always there.
And so I think that's where this was coming from. I think that's exactly what all of us feel, right? Like that is the natural, that is the beast of this industry. That is,
Yeah.
when the call comes in, we go, and we feel that internal pressure to do this. And there's if you think back to, if you listen back to one of the podcasts that we had with, I believe it was with Russell, and talking about some of those pressures to fly, part of that is because of referring to all of these as missions, right? It is a mission that we have to go out the door, right? It's that verbiage that goes with it. It puts that added pressure. And I think that for a lot of us, we still do that internally every single day. Look, at the end of the day, life happens, right? We don't get a good night's sleep. We are fighting with our spouse. Our kids were playing all day long and kept us up. The dog wouldn't stop barking throughout the day. Whatever this may be, right? Like there's all of these external factors, or maybe we had a really busy weekend because we had to go to all these kids' events. Whatever it may be, we show up to work thinking we're in this good headspace, that we got enough sleep, or we know for a fact we probably didn't, and we're just banking on the fact that, you know what, it's okay, I only got 3 hours of sleep. I'm going to be able to nap when I get to work, right? Like, and I think that we trick ourselves on this daily basis of thinking that we're not really as tired as what we actually are.
Yeah.
And we come up with every excuse of why we can do it, but we refuse to think of a reason why we shouldn't.
Bingo.
And
you nailed it there, Mike.
I think that's what I struggle with sometimes. And I think going back to that, difficult internal conversation that Blake was talking about is just, we have to have that honest conversation. Am I safe to go to work right now? Am I safe to jump in, a multi-million-dollar helicopter, go flying around at, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 feet in the dark and be safe doing it? Am I safe right now at 3:00 in the morning, as tired as I am, to go give a dying patient their last chance at getting to definitive care? Am I in the right headspace? Have I gotten enough rest? Am I doing the right things necessary to take care of that patient? And I think that we trick ourselves because we have those internal pressures, because our adrenaline goes off and we're like, all right, I'm good. I'm ready to do this. Let's get on it. Is that really what the case is? And I think what I struggle with even more is going back to thinking about some of these flights. And if there was an article that was in Vertical Magazine the end of March related to and talking about the FAA study that just came out. So the study that was done by the FAA looking specifically at fatigue and in the HEMS environment, it was interesting to me reading through that I don't think we really learned anything groundbreaking about what was expected. We know that, especially when you get to day 4, night 4, that your reaction time slow down, that you can certainly see the inertia kicking in when you have to wake up at 3:00 in the morning and suddenly be on your game. But it's like, it takes you a long time to wake up, and it can be the equivalent of being drunk in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what struck me as so incredibly groundbreaking when you look at both the report from that FAA study, and then I also think back to a podcast that we did with Russell Griffin before, in that statistically, the most dangerous leg of the flight is RTB.
Yep.
And when you look at that study, that the pilots that were surveyed in that study felt the greatest fatigue on the RTB leg.
Why do you think that is, Mike? As a crew member, why do you think that is? I bet it's the same. I'll bet it's the same for you, but why do you think that is?
The adrenaline wears off.
That's right.
The fatigue kicks
That's right.
in. Our true fatigue state is happening then, right?
Yes.
We can finally let our guard down. We can finally relax. We can finally, breathe. And we let our guard down.
That's right. The adrenaline dump has occurred. You had it. You had that adrenaline, glucose, cortisol. And now, well, we accomplished the mission. I'm sorry, I used that bad word again. Mission. You accomplished what you were sent to do, and you're glad. Maybe it was a great success, but it's done.
But it all goes back to we're at this point where we are fighting to stay awake, and it's because we never did a proper assessment of our own fatigue to begin with.
Yeah,
we never did the preparation to get to work in the right state of mind, in the right physical and emotional and intellectual way, to be present and be accountable for ourselves, and to do the job to the expectations that each and every patient has of us.
I want to jump into this, Mike. I think, our lives don't allow us, again, when you talk about like this horrible 4-night stretch, which all of us remember, or I remember with far too starkly, but the job doesn't allow us to live in the real world. If it was gonna be the ideal situation where you would be rested, you would leave your job, you would go somewhere, you'd get something to eat, and you would sleep. You would get up and you'd come back to work. And that we have lives to live.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So that's just not going to happen.
It's not reality.
No, it's not. And certainly by night 4, everybody is mentally spent, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change your life to fix that. And that just, all that does is just make this whole, the more we, it's kind of funny, the more we talk about this whole thing, we're realizing that, if you're in that job, you're stuck in a situation that is incredibly tough.
Yeah.
And you just have to figure out how to get through the shift, and possibly have to do maybe some of the most demanding work you've ever had to do.
Yeah.
Or a nurse or medic. Right.
But Woody, I think that's when that internal pressure, that lack of self-assessment of how fatigued we truly are only gets worse, because we start going in the spiral of, no, I can do this, or no, I don't want to let my crew down, or no, I don't want to let my patient down. And we start getting into this like hyped up state that we get ourselves to the point where like, yeah, I'm okay. I can do this because I don't want to let somebody else down. So it's internal pressures.
Yeah. It's a real spiral. And I think we're just pointing out the situation where there aren't any answers.
I think there's more questions than answers, and that's okay.
90% of the time, as I remember, if you did a self-assessment, you go like, I'm tired as shit. I'm really tired, and I'm unhappy that I'm here, and I'm looking out at 2:00 in the morning and going like, my God, why am I going out there?
Yeah, we're all guilty of it.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Ugh. And I think if we did that, then we probably wouldn't just go at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Assessment would say, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where would you take that with your management? I've done a self-assessment and I'm tired. I can't fly.
Yeah, but it's the 5th one this week, Woody. Why can you not continue to go? It's the 5th time that, according to the self-assessment, that you can't go. Is it your fault, or is it just the nature of this business? It's a lot of different things. And Woody, you said it earlier. It's like that self-discipline, those, like, it's my responsibility to be as prepared as I can to come in and do the work, that's asked of me. But I do think that leading into how we make things better is I think it's important for operators and employers, like, to understand that, like, this does have a cumulative effect. Like, our body, like, if I eat nothing but like trash food, which I do, like, my body, it's only going to last so long, like, until something gives. I can only push it so far.
Yeah.
So if we continue to do, like, we have to find a way to make ways to mitigate that. And Woody, I wanted to ask you, when you were flying out in Albuquerque Native Air, you had long, and Mike was talking about it, those return to base legs are the most dangerous because we let our guard down. But you had, correct me if I'm wrong, long return to base legs, right? An hour, maybe more.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Well, From the scene, you mean?
No, so like you do the flight, you drop the patient at the hospital, but then now you got to get back to base.
Oh, no, because our bases were all, well, yeah, you're right. I mean, like, I was at Payson for about 3 of the 5 years, and Payson's 90 miles from Phoenix. Yeah, so you drop a patient, and you got to turn around and fly back up into the mountains again to get back to the base.
And you're tired. So I almost wonder, like, I'll be honest, most of my return to base legs are like 5 minutes if I stay local, right? What's going to happen in 5 minutes? I'm tired. Whatever, I'll make it back.
Yeah. Maybe.
Like, I almost
Right.
wonder if the real problem are these shorter flights the more dangerous than the 90 minutes back through the mountains? Like, do you squeeze every last bit of like attention or focus that you have because you're going somewhere that takes a longer time to get there? It takes more focus. And like Mike said, we have these shorter return to base legs. Do I just say, yo, I'm climbing in the back, man, you're up front on this one? Well, I just put the same equally tired guy up front. Now I think I'm doing something good by saying, hey, I'm not at my best. I think I need to sit in the back on this one. And now my partner's like, well, damn, I don't feel that great, but I guess I better get up front because if he doesn't feel good, someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
And the pilot's like, man, if these two guys are tired, I'm the only one that can fly us back. I guess I better, suck it up and get back. So are we really having those honest conversations? And what would it look like if we said, hey, the three of us right now are not good to fly back to base? It's only a 6-minute flight.
Takes courage to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and nobody's going to do it because they know our players.
Nobody's going to do it.
Rain down hate and fire out.
I want to go back to the story that you were mentioning before, Jack, because I feel it needs to be said. When you had that moment where you nodded off in the helicopter, and if you have not, if there are, whoever is listening, I don't care if you're in law enforcement, fire department, search and rescue, HEMS, if you have not had that moment, you will.
Yeah,
I agree.
And
I agree.
And I think that like that's what scares me, because I know I personally have been there myself. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not flying this thing.
Right.
Because I am exhausted right now.
Yeah.
One of the few times I've been like, man, I'm glad I'm not a pilot.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I'll sit in the back,
But our job is just as important. We need to be eyes out. We need to be looking around. Like, this is a team effort.
Yeah. I can tell you, even in canine, we'd be on a long night, you get there and before you even start your watch at 2000, you're already going to a search. And now you go to 4 searches that night and you're exhausted. And now it's 0400. I mean, you are tired. And we would drive home, and several of us, a whole bunch of us, lived north of the city in the same community. And I remember, I will never mention his name on the air, but he would know if he's listening. I followed a certain handler more than once that I know was burning the candle at both ends all the time, for the right reasons, by the way. It was all about his family, all about his boys. Mm-hmm. And heck, I was involved in half of it, coaching and stuff. And we were both doing it at a time. But I followed him some nights where I was truly concerned for his life, where I actually got on the radio and yelled at him one time, and said, "Hey," and and I know what was happening. He was on the nod. And we'd get to a stoplight and it would turn green, and I'd be right on his bumper. We're going up. We lived within a mile of each other. I'd be right on his bumper. The light turns green and nothing happens. Yep. I know what's going on in that car, because I've been there too. So it's just reality. It's the way our body works. There's only so much we can do about it. And everybody here has brought it up about life. Life gets in the way. You can do everything right, and there's still things that you cannot control when it comes to fatigue. It's just the way we're wired. Your body, the circadian rhythms, those are real. I heard a supervisor at LAPD Air Support say, "That's a bunch of mumbo jumbo crap." No, it's proven science. over and over and over and over again. And that was the person that didn't like anybody sleeping, at all, even for 20 minutes. Close your eyes for 20 minutes of seat. Oh, geez, God forbid. But they didn't understand that you can do everything right and still need that 20 minutes to close your eyes, because you may get called out again. It's something you guys can relate to. There's a lot of stuff going on in our bodies physiologically that we know about, but we can't really control completely. Well, this is an example. I just asked my wife about this today. It's called the dawn phenomena. The dawn phenomena. And what it is when light comes up in the morning, you haven't eaten anything yet. Nothing. It's just the light has reappeared. Your body dumps glucose. It's the way it is. You could be fasting for 3 days, and every time the light comes up in the morning, your body's going to dump glucose. Not because you ate something, but because that's how your body works. I mean, it's amazing the things that happen in our systems from, thousands and thousands of years. And fatigue is one of those. And that's why it's kind of frustrating, isn't it? I mean, I got frustrated with fatigue, where I'm thinking, man, I'm doing everything right, and I still feel like crap. Blake, you mentioned it multiple times tonight.
Our bodies are not built to be up at all hours like that.
They're not. It's not. And it's like, well, what can we do about it?
Yeah.
And a lot of the theme tonight seems to be the self-assessment thing. I mean, right? I mean, there's no policy, procedure. It's kind of like we just got to check ourselves, check our pilots and our crews, and make sure we take care of each other, and then, get the job done if we can. And then having the courage to say no. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to say no.
Yeah, it is hard to say no, but I think that we have to have a shift of, and I've seen that at least where I'm at, and if anyone else out there listening, or to Mike, I have seen organizations welcome a crew rest, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I've seen implemented is there's no question, there's no, hey, why are you doing this? No, you say you need crew rest, you get 4 hours. You don't have to take the 4 hours, but you can take up to the 4 hours. And then at that point, if for whatever reason you're not good to go, well, then it's time to go home at that point. There's something that was happening. There's something that was going on. Well, we're going to call it. Someone, if I need to go home, I'm going to go home. Yeah. I at least am very thankful that there has been not only an implementation, but a reminder from my superiors to, hey guys, just so you know, you have this ability to take this rest, and it's okay, and we'll fill it out. And a lot of it really is like data collection. And I think that one of the things that has come from that is to recognize maybe certain, daily procedural type things that have kind of come into play, to where they're like, you know what, maybe some of that doesn't make sense, and maybe we can eliminate that, and that will cut back on, like, why did 6 crews take crew rest this week? Yeah, well, they got called to one specific area or whatever reason. Hey, let's look into that. I think it's a very good step in the right direction.
Yeah. Is that a recent change, Blake?
It's been around now for probably the last, or I should say it's been more advocated for probably in the last 3 or 4 years. Because again, like the reason why we're having this conversation, something has had to change, right? And when we talk about certain incidents, it doesn't have to be a catastrophic or fatal incident, but still little incidents with helicopters are very expensive.
Yes.
You bump a fence, you rip off an antenna, all these other little things, they all add up, right? And it doesn't have to be the big newsworthy incidents. It could be the ones that are day in and day out that cost a lot of money to fix,
Yes.
windscreens. They're not cheap. Rotor blades, not cheap. There's nothing cheap
Nope.
on an aircraft.
Nope. Nothing.
So yeah. And those were things that were like, hey, why are we like just moving an aircraft in and out of a hangar? You could be anybody. Law enforcement, fire, search, rescue, medical, just moving an aircraft when you're tired and you don't get a tow bar on correctly, or you don't get, the skids gripped appropriately, something can cause damage. And then that adds up. Hey, Blake, why, what were you doing, on your wing walk? Sleeping.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, those are the things that then they can add up. And I'm very thankful for being part of an organization that has not only identified, hey, well, we're cutting a lot of checks. Let's try to figure out how to not do that so much. And it's also been embraced, and to be like, hey, listen, if you're not good, go home. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it another day. I fully expect that if it's like my 8th shift in a row that I keep going home, well, obviously I'm the problem. But I think it garners, like, we should have these conversations, and it's okay to be like, hey, why is this happening? We should fully embrace it, talk about it, and see if there's a way to figure it out. Bad guys that they don't take nights off, things happen. People do things inherently. We all know dumb things happen after midnight.
That's
everything, all the crazy stuff like that, everything happens. Nothing good happens after midnight, right?
Yep.
So we just have to be honest about the reality of those things. And I think as long as we answer those risk assessments, the self-assessment, we have to be honest with ourselves. And that can hopefully help prevent the little things from becoming big incidents.
Good. I'm going to come to you, Woody, and then Mike, you're going to follow him and give the current day answer to the question. Woody, back in the day, a while back, what kind of risk assessment were you doing? I mean, what risk assessment is today because you're still in the industry. But what were you doing? And then I'm going to come to Mike and ask what he's doing, and we're going to compare the two.
You go back to MedStar in the 80s.
Yeah.
There was no such thing.
Yeah. Nothing at all.
No, nothing. And
so talk about, I don't want to interrupt you, but talk about what that meant. The bell goes off and you just went to the helicopter, started it, crew got in and you went. There was no discussion about A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Nothing at all. You just went and get the job done.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, there was no risk. That was back when life was simple and nobody was worried about, nobody thought about risk.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that maybe wasn't better because, listening to everything we're saying, we do all these risk assessments and when we decide, I'm really not ready for this. And then good luck calling your company and saying, well, I've done a risk assessment and I'm too tired to fly. And, as we all know, you might get away with that one night. Not very often.
Definitely not two.
You're going to get some counseling and guidance. We know what that is. So, again, it's just this vicious. We're going around in a circle about this job is very, very dangerous, and it's a challenge for the team members to be spun up and ready every night, and that's it. I mean, there is no. It's a paradox that you live with when you're in this business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the risk assessment came into vogue. When I was at Native Air, we started doing these risk assessments, and we're all going like, "This is pretty funny."
Yeah.
We're all going like, "Okay." So this is a giant paper exercise. So the company has done a CYA drill,
Yeah.
and And then if we all said, if we checked all the boxes, hey, it's all okay, and it's on us if we screw up.
Right. Right.
And I think that's how we all felt. I'm not sure I'm not sure that perception has changed much.
Well, let's ask Mike. Mike, talk about risk assessments today for both, you personally, where you work, and what you do and your crew does, and in the industry. I mean, you are around this industry, especially now with the podcast. You guys get to talk to people from all over the place. You go to Echo, and what's the industry doing? What are you doing? How does it differ from what Woody just talked about?
Yes, I think from my perspective, I think that it has changed a little bit. And one of I can remember the days where that risk assessment was laughed at, and because it wasn't that long ago, right? This is within the last 5-10 years in some organizations where the risk assessment was not, maybe the concept of it was there, but it was a pilot thing. The pilots took care of the risk assessment, and the med crew, we just we get in and go. To where I've seen the transition to today, where it's all crew members are part of that risk assessment, and I think if nothing else, that risk assessment is an opportunity for each crew member to have that personal check-in every day, right? It's an opportunity for your crew members. Maybe they don't need to know what's going on in your life, but they at least know that you have some external stressors that you're working through right now. So it can give them that opportunity to really have that awareness of where I'm at and what kind of external stressors I'm having, and maybe how much sleep I had earlier in the day, and where I'm at as far as a mental state to be in this to win this, right? And vice versa, me for my partners. And hopefully we can try to compensate for each other a little bit, identify what risks are a factor in this, and mitigate them. And so I think for me, seeing in both my organization and in the industry, that implementation across all crew members to have that, I think has been a very positive thing that I've been, privy to at this point.
Thanks to our sponsor, Copter Safety. Based in Finland, Copter Safety is the leading, globally approved simulator training center. They provide a full range of courses for AW139, AW169, H125, and H145 pilots. Customize your special missions training with realistic visuals and specialized instructors. Stay one step ahead of reality with Copter Safety.
The other positive thing that I'm hoping to start to see more of is the time frame of when we're doing these assessments, because this is not just about doing it at the beginning of your shift and forgetting about it for the rest of the time. Oh, we've got a good number, let's go, right? I know you're laughing over there, Blake, but really it, and I'm sure that my crew members are probably going to slap me next time they see me for saying this, but I really think that there at least should be the question asked. If not, it should be redone after every single flight. And I say after the flight, because if we're waiting to redo this assessment when I'm waking up at 3:00 in the morning to go on a call, I'm not going to either answer it correctly, or I'm not going to have the wherewithal about me to recognize where I'm at on that fatigue scale. And I'm also under the pressure at that point to take the flight. These risk assessments should be done when we're not under that pressure to take that flight. And I think that we're starting to see some of those trends moving in those directions, because when you're in that moment, when you have that both now external and internal pressure, and I don't think that I'm not saying external pressure like you have somebody breathing down your throat, you need to go on this transport. I'm saying that external pressure of, oh my God, the tones just went off, somebody's expecting my help.
Yeah.
Right. That becomes an internal pressure then for us to sit there and say, I can go do this. So if we haven't thought about this beforehand, and that's a whole other topic that obviously we can go down, but I think that we're starting to see movement in that direction. And then I think when we talk about risk mitigation, I think that you're starting to see more of that integration of the medical crews into the aviation aspect of that transport, such as call and response, right? Yeah. I don't know what's happening in the front of the aircraft, but when my pilot's asking me if I'm ready, I'm asking him about the engines. He's telling me we got 2 to fly and the gates are locked. And I'm saying we got doors, belt, and cabin secure in the back here. We're ready for takeoff. right? So it has that call and response. And I think we're starting to see a lot more of some of those actions occurring that are keeping each other accountable, even in the times when conditions aren't ideal. So I think that we are making progress.
Yeah.
But I think that we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. Well, so this is a broad question, but it's because, Blake and Mike, you have contact with so many people. You don't have to name names or companies, but is there somebody out there? Are there a company or companies out there in the HEMS world where you go, that's what it all needs to be like? That's the shining light right there. They are really doing well or doing something different on this topic. Is there anything like that, or is it pretty much, industry wide? Everybody's kind of in the same mode.
Yes, I think there are people that are doing it right. I think there are programs and there are areas of this country that are doing it right. And I think they're able to do it because their focus is like, that's their focus, is to get it right the first time, because you can actually make an impact and reach more patients and more crews, and you can do it right because you're embracing that there's the human element to all the things that we do. Yes, there are people that are doing it right. They're going to fly dual pilot. They're going to, and even if they're not dual pilot, they're embracing that all three crew members, like, you have to have all three to make that patient flight a success. And I love that, the fact that, like, not only from a med crew perspective, like, we get a lot of aviation training, but I also like that there are places that involve the pilot in medical training, right? Like, just for awareness, like, I mean, Woody or Jack, I'm sure we could show you how to start an IV. You'd be able to do it after a few times,
Wouldn't want to be on the other end of it for a few times.
Hey, it's not going to hurt you a bit, right?
It'll be okay, Jack.
Yeah. but just having the awareness, just having awareness as a pilot of what your med crews are potentially going to get into, right? If you see the med crew coming back with the patient and all of a sudden they start doing compressions, you're like, ugh, this is probably going to take a while, or this is going to be a mess, or they're going to be going through a lot, right?
Yeah.
So as a pilot, like you're not just the driver of the helicopter, right? That's one aspect of it, but a lot of shift in training. There are organizations out there that are incorporating everybody is just as equally important. You have different roles, but you are so integral that it takes all three to make it a success. And it doesn't matter whether you're a nurse, pilot, medic, RT, whatever. And I think if we recognize that more and embrace that and have those awareness of the things that each other is going through, I think that's pointing this, whatever ship it is that we're on, I think it's at least getting us in that direction, to have these conversations and do it safely.
And I think you bring up a really good point with that, which I was going to kind of turn back over to Jack then, in that I think we can probably, in the HEMS world, for the most part, take a lesson out of the PD playbook here, in that, you and your TFO do a lot of training together and prepare for things that you can tackle if something happens and hopefully have a positive outcome, right? Both aviation related and police related. But, I think that it's worth discussing how that integration between the TFO and the pilot work up there, because I think for a lot of us on the HEM side, we don't necessarily understand all of that integration in the work that you guys are doing. But then I also take that back to challenge our med crews and saying, how many of us are just sitting up front? Or when we're sitting up front, are we really paying attention to everything that's going on. Like if there's an emergency, how many of us can get to the right EP on the iPad and make sure our pilot has what we need?
Yeah, that's
Right?
important. Yeah. And my department did a decent job at that in my time there. I mean, where they did emergency flight training for tactical flight officers, tried to get them to be able to take the controls and get to an airport and do a shallow approach to a run-on landing. That was the goal. That's a good goal. I mean, some people caught onto that real quick. Others struggled, but we got it. Most could do it. That's a big thing. But there were times when we were screaming and saying, why aren't the TFOs being sent to Grand Prairie with us for simulator training? Why not? They're going to be the ones that pull the checklist out. You know, I can't, exactly. And for those just listening, Mike and Blake simultaneously showed the money sign with their hands.
Woody was easily thinking the exact same thing.
He was.
You know,
it is. It was all
cost.
economics. So much of what we're talking about tonight is economics. You just mentioned, adding a second dual pilot. Why wouldn't all med flights have that? Money. That's that simple. Mm-hmm. There's no one that can argue against it and say, well, that's not a good idea. No, it's only not a good idea in one category. Money.
If it costs you money.
Right? There is no other argument that there's none that you could ever come up with and say, well, having a second pilot, that's not a good idea for the following 10 reasons. No, there's only one, and it's because you don't want to pay them. You don't want to have that expense. Mm-hmm. I get it. It is a business at some point, but we tried to get our TFOs involved in as much as we can. Now, there are simulators out there, that are available now where TFOs are getting in and getting a lot more experience with that. That's valuable. No doubt about that. But, it was a battle. It was a battle. And again, it came back to time and money. Well, we don't have time to do that. Many agencies, many law enforcement agencies, you mentioned the emergency flight training to them, and they go, what's that? You go, well, your TFOs don't know what to do? No. Do your TFOs carry the emergency checklist in their pocket? Why would they do that? They're TFOing. Because you have to have both hands on the controls. You can't pull that checklist out, Yeah. And so your checklist list so well, even under stress, that you don't need to look at it or have it read to you. It's ridiculous. The crew is so important during an emergency, any emergency, even emergencies that are kind of happen regularly, chip lights, something like that. We're not talking about catastrophic engine out,
right?
But even like hydraulic out. I know that procedure. I know it to this day, and I haven't flown in 10 years. I know it, but I wanted my TFO to read it to me. Yeah. Just adjust your speed to 40 to 60. Isolate the hydraulics. It's ingrained in you. But having a crew member read it to you, making sure you're doing it right, is so important. What do you get in on this? Because you have a lot of experience in the simulator world in various ways. Talk about how important it is for the crew to be involved in this sort of thing.
Yeah, I have to kind of hark to way back when, which is kind of ancient history compared to today. And the company had no interest in integrating med crews using crew resource management techniques with the med crews of the pilots. And as Mike and Blake, as you know, pilots' attitudes toward med crews vary greatly. Mm-hmm. I really took it very seriously to be highly interactive with the med crew in a flight, and if we were going to have an issue, I mean, I would say to them, look, hey guys, let's start looking for a precautionary place to land. I'm trying to think if that ever really happened, but thinking that through, I thought I've got two good sets of eyes here, one out of each side that can see behind what I can see. So what by getting them involved, I've increased my field of vision. If we're going to have to do something like that, by 1,000%.
Yeah.
And they again, and the med crews, their enthusiasm for that kind of integration varied, but most of them, you could say, look, guys, we're all in this together, and we've all that you got to know your med crews closely, of course, and you didn't really have to say that, but some of the pilots, and again, I'm not sure if it's this way today, but then there were some of the pilots who said, "I don't want to even talk to the med crew. It's my business how I fly," and which I thought was kind of Stone Age. But I felt like if we're going to land in a horrible confined area, two sets of eyes, just a normal situation, were invaluable. I mean, these med crews know a lot about flying. They know more than they think they do because they've been riding around for a long time, tightly involved in the whole flight experience, and for us to have to go land down in a bunch of trees, to say to them, look, guys, this is going to be a very steep approach with a lot of obstacles. So let's all get mind melded here, and let's you guys watch out in your sectors that you can see. And if anything you see, if you see something that you think is going to be a danger, say something. And my thought was, if one of them says, "Hey, there's a tree branch," I was pulling collective, like, whoop, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Because at that point you can't say, well, where's the tree? Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I personally like to involve the med crew in situations like that. And most of them seem to like to be involved. Some of them had the idea, well, look, you're the pilot, I'm not really involved. I just do my job when I get there. But I think most people in a situation like that would like to be involved and help to make sure everybody gets out safe. So I'm kind of going around in circles here,
No,
but
that's all true. It's self-preservation.
yeah, it is self-preservation. And by the way, the nurses and paramedics are pretty intelligent people. Most of them are more intelligent than pilots.
Absolutely.
So, in writing.
Yeah, hang on.
We'll both
I'm
write that.
glad this is being recorded.
Pilot
Yes,
said.
absolutely true. You can teach a monkey how to fly a helicopter.
We can teach one to start an IV.
There's a lot to be said for all three team members to be proactively involved in the flight, and for if the company doesn't promote, I mean, most aeromedical companies now are promoting crew resource management to a very high degree.
Absolutely.
And that's good because it's going to make for a happier, safer flight.
No doubt.
All day, every day.
No doubt.
So I don't know if I kind of beat to death, but that's my thought.
Well, it's an important topic. CRM is important, and it can save your lives. Absolutely.
I feel like we might have done a podcast about that, Jack, or something.
I think you're right. I think you're right. That was a good one. That was a really good one. I love that conversation. That was fantastic. So in the couple of minutes we have left, I just want to kind of rapid fire around the horn here and ask each of you and give just a brief, you're now in charge. You are in charge. You are king for the day. And I want you to pick one thing that if you had the power to do it in your industry, not in your unit, not where you work, just industry-wide with dealing with fatigue, if you had to pick one thing to change to make this better, what would it be? Blake, give us one.
Thank you to our sponsor, Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
If I was running for whatever election, this would be my ticket. This is what I would write on. For our industry, from the med crew perspective, the number one thing we say this all day: I will fly all day. I will take care of patients, no problem. You know what I hate doing? Documenting. I hate doing documentation because it takes so damn long.
Yeah.
Why does it take me 2 hours to do a patient care report or chart, whatever you want to call it? So, and when we talk about those things, God, if I could change that, and it's happening, they're the documentation companies, they're catching on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are helping us do our job a little bit better, but we could still get there. And I think that's for me personally, my number one complaint. It's not the fact that we just did all these crazy things to this patient, but now I got to go back and write it all out and put it into words and type it out. And it takes me 3 hours.
So I think I know what you're going to say, but how does that paperwork relate to the fatigue factor?
Cut that time down. If I could do that chart, if I could take care of that patient, get back and not have to spend 2 or 3 hours doing documentation. If I was able to cut that down to 45 minutes to an hour at the most, now I have some more time to rest and recoup.
Exactly. Very good.
That'd be my ticket.
All right. You're vote for Pedro,
I don't know what I'm running for, but it sounds cool.
Vote for Blake. So Woody, all your experience, all those years, you've seen this topic in multiple settings. If there was one thing that you could change in the industry that would make it better with relation to fatigue, can you pick one?
I think it's, I was kind of cringing at when you came to me on this because I'm really drawing a blank. I mean, I think we've extensively covered the dynamics of what this job is from all our perspectives, and certainly are in agreement that it's a huge challenge that requires all the players to actively contribute to the solution and to be and work hard to have a good team. So I can't think of one thing. I think
you just hit on it. I think you just hit on it, Woody, by saying, that the team has to be involved in this. All of the people have to be involved in this that are doing the job, right? I mean, it shouldn't be somebody that's not out there doing the job that is saying, well, we're not going to do that. That's a stupid idea. Well, hold it. The people that are doing the job think it's a really good idea and that it would help them be more efficient or effective or safer. They're the ones that are doing it, right? I mean, you've seen that through your whole career. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like sometimes the worker bees get ignored on these topics, when you're living it and feeling it, and you're the one that is fatigued, Mike, King Fatale, what would you change?
King
with fatigue?
Fatale.
King,
man.
the king.
Wow. I just found the plaque for his office.
Negative Mark.
King Fatale.
But if I could be king for a day, I vote for mandatory naps. I don't know. No, but I think that one of the things I would love to see is the stigma that surrounds being tired or not being able to complete a mission that we said that word again, or not be able to go on that response. But the stigma surrounding that, to be able to say confidently, I'm not safe right now, could somehow go away. I think that we all need to have that trust and understanding and reliability within ourselves and our teammates to know that we're all in this job because we want to do good. We want to help our patients. We want to go home at the end of the day. We want to be a team player. That if there has to come that time where I have to say, I'm not safe right now.
Yeah.
That the stigma surrounding all of that goes out the window, because we need to be able to have not only that conversation with ourselves, but with our crew members, and it needs to be okay.
Yes.
We have, in most parts of the country, a helicopter in every corner. There's no shortage of them around.
Yeah.
So if I'm not safe to do it here, somebody else is.
Yeah.
And I know that, everybody's cringing like, oh, we're giving away business that way. I'm saying even within your own agency, you've got multiple options at most places out there around the country. And I think that we need to just be able to have that honest conversation with ourselves, and for the stigma surrounding it to go away.
I agree.
In my perfect world.
I agree. It's just like mental wellness. I think we talked about this before we started recording.
Absolutely.
It's talking about fatigue and talking about mental wellness. That it has changed. We are able to talk about it more today than people 10 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, when they didn't talk about it at all. It was the stigma was huge.
Yeah.
Have we made progress? No doubt about it. But there's still always room for improvement. And so I agree with you that getting rid of that stigma is important, and being able to talk about it honestly and say, hey, this is reality. Yes, we might say no to a flight, but think about what it would cost you if we went out there fatigued, like we know we are, for the following 10 reasons and the frat that we can show somebody, and say, if we, ball this helicopter up, that's going to cost you a lot more than this flight by far. It's not even close.
And I think that there is some of that going in that direction. We are making progress as an industry.
Yeah.
We are pushing this forward, and I think that we are making strides. Absolutely.
Good.
And I see it within many leadership teams across the country who are practicing what they preach and indicating like, hey, if you got to call a timeout, that's okay.
Yeah.
We're all right with that.
Oh, I love it.
And I think that where I'm saying the stigma, I think that's almost more of an internal thing. I have my own stigma for me to say that I'm too proud.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And so I need to be able to have that internal conversation as well as that external conversation.
Yeah. Well, we just had a couple of chiefs on recently, and one of them mentioned that on his department, if somebody on graveyard shift is really hurting, patrol officer, that they tell you can come into the station, go to that cot room, and take a break. And if you need to nap for 30 minutes to get you out of that funk, do it.
It's awesome.
I was stunned. That is unheard of, was unheard of in law enforcement. I was stunned. I went, really? And he's like, yeah, why wouldn't we? Because what's going to happen if he stays out there in the nod? He's going to crash. He's going to hurt himself. He's going to hurt somebody else. And it's going to cost us a fortune. So call permitting. I mean, you don't take a nap when it's a busy Friday night, maybe. But if you're hurting and there's nothing going on and it's a rainy night and there's no calls, he doesn't want you out there nodding off. And I love
Awesome.
that.
Love it.
So maybe I hope, and he's a very respected chief in the world of, teaching other chiefs about leadership. Maybe this is a trend. I'm not aware of it, but I was thrilled to hear that, because that was opposite of what I dealt with for 36 years. It was not only frowned upon, it was like, you don't do it. No, you cannot do that. You can't take a nap.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that there's some people out there that got hurt or killed with fatigue being a factor. So, man, time has flown by. We knew that this was going to happen.
I don't feel like we even scratched the surface on.
I know.
No, but Jack, you got to answer the question.
Yeah.
You were king for a day.
Oh, wow.
What would you change?
I think I would touch on that and say, I want everybody to be like Chief Hughes and in law enforcement, and say, okay, if you really need it, it can't be You can't come in every night and take a nap. But if you really need it, you should be able to do it. And I can tell you, at air support, when I was first on graveyards as a TFO, that was accepted. It was accepted that you came in at 4:00. The last flight landed at 04. You landed, and you could sit there in those comfy chairs in the TV room and close your eyes. And because you could get another call, you were on call until 7. That went away, and it was ridiculous. And because it was looked at, oh, you guys are just being lazy. No, we're hurting, and you're going to send us back out in a helicopter over the city. It's crazy.
What could go wrong?
So yeah, I think that would be it. That the stigma, I'm following up on yours, Mike. The stigma is taken away, and in law enforcement, you actually encourage it, especially in the aviation side. And so that would be mine. But wow, what a good conversation. Like I said, time flew by. We knew it would. We knew we could talk about this all day. But I'll just close it by thanking all of you. Woody, we really appreciate your years of experience and wisdom in this, and giving us a perspective that we wouldn't have had by participating. So thank you, Woody. Appreciate you coming on.
Happy to do it. I still argue with you about wisdom.
Whatever.
It did not fit in my life.
Well, I've talked to you enough to know that you have wisdom, and I've learned things. So I'll just override you on that, and I will be the king, and you will just be the prince. And I will tell you that you have lots of wisdom, Prince McClendon. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. This was great, guys.
It was great. It was great. Blake, Mike, thank you so much for collaborating on this. This was a great idea, and I'm proud to be a part of it with you guys. The Valor Flight Crew podcast is a wonderful thing, and I've been a guest a couple times. I've been with you guys and with John, and we know the good work you're doing. And like I said, I got to see it first at Echo last year, and looking forward to Philadelphia and seeing more of that. Any closing thoughts, Blake, and then Mike?
I'm just really grateful that we're all able to sit down and do this. I think having these conversations and learning from the different aspects of public safety, law enforcement, search, rescue, the medical side, we can all take those little bits from each other and work with the things that, hey, they tried it. It didn't work. Why the hell are we going to do that? You know? And then the answer could be like, well, because they don't operate that way. Maybe we do, right? Oh, and vice versa. Be like, well, it didn't work for them. It's definitely not going to work for us, right? So I'm really appreciative of this opportunity that we get to share from the different perspectives of the different aspects of what this world is of public safety, aviation. And I think this was great conversation. And like I said, we probably left with more questions than answers, but maybe we answered a few along the way.
Yeah.
And I had a great time.
Great. Thanks, Blake. Mike, finish us up.
Yeah, Jack, thank you so much. I mean, it's been an absolute honor to come on here and be part of now the Hangar Z podcast. I guess it's, we're going back and forth on when we get to do guest appearances, but it's an honor and a privilege, and appreciate the kind words about the Valor Flight Crew podcast.
Yes.
It's been a ton of fun, and we've had some great mentors along the way, yourself included. So
thank
really
you.
Appreciate that.
Kind words.
But yeah, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for having us on. I love having these kind of conversations. If nothing else, it's thought provoking, and I hope that for everyone that's listening, that they can go back to their bases and start to have these conversations around the crew table, and really start to open up about how they are feeling and how they can improve upon it within their own organization. And that to me really means more than anything else is giving that maybe food for thought that people can take back and really turn into their own and make work for themselves and for their own organization, and continue to push this industry forward and make it safer every day. We know we can't eliminate this risk, but we know that we can probably do some things to maybe help it out. And I think that these are the conversations where it starts, and I challenge every single person that's listening to take this back to their crews and to make it their own, in their own base, in their own home.
I concur, Doctor. That is outstanding, what you just said there, Mike. This should be a catalyst to get conversations going in your own units, with your own crews, and with yourself. Goes back to, the beginning, what Blake said, having that tough conversation with yourself, have it, and see what you can change. I'll end with this. Sleep Under Stress is the name of the article by Dr. Tanya Glenn. It's in, go to verticalmag.com, go to Valor magazine, Valor Plus, and it's on page 26. Sleep Under Stress. There's some dynamite information in there about what we're talking about. It's really well written. Tanya is very experienced. She's one of my favorite guests we've ever had on, and she's saving lives left and right. And this topic will be just added to the list of things that she shares expertise on that will save people. So with that, thank you to MHM, Vertical Helicasts, Valor Plus, Echo, for all the support for both our podcasts, the Valor Flight Crew Podcast and the Hangar Z Podcast. We're thrilled to be collaborating on this. And with that, I'll just say from all of us at both the Valor Flight Crew and the Hangar Z, stay safe, and we'll catch you the next time on either of those podcasts. That's how I'm going to end it. Make sure you're checking out all the podcasts on Vertical Helicast. Stay safe, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Valor Flight Crew Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message from our sponsors.
Thank you to our sponsor, Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140-plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Thanks to our sponsor, Copter Safety. Based in Finland, Copter Safety is the leading, globally approved simulator training center. They provide a full range of courses for AW139, AW169, H125, and H145 pilots. Customize your special missions training with realistic visuals and specialized instructors. Stay one step ahead of reality with Copter Safety.
Thanks for joining us on the Valor Flight Crew Podcast. As we wrap up this episode, we want to thank you for joining us for this important conversation about fatigue. Fatigue is one of the most significant threats to aviation safety, yet it remains one of the hardest hazards to identify and address. The more we learn about fatigue, its effects, and the ways we can mitigate its impact, the safer our crews, organizations, and missions will be. One of the key takeaways from this discussion is that managing fatigue is not solely the responsibility of the individual air crew member, nor is it solely the responsibility of management. It requires commitment and engagement at every level of an organization, from the newest crew member all the way to executive leadership. Fatigue must be openly discussed, honestly assessed, and continuously evaluated if we are serious about improving safety. But perhaps the most important point that emerged from this conversation is that we cannot depend entirely on those outside the aircraft to manage our fatigue for us. As one of our guests said so perfectly, we all need to have difficult conversations with ourselves. That honest look in the mirror may be the most effective fatigue mitigation tool that we have. It requires self-awareness, humility, and the willingness to acknowledge when we are not at our best. Those conversations are not always easy, but they are essential to protecting ourselves, our crews, and the people we serve. To all of our listeners, thank you for joining us for this important conversation and your continued support of the Valor Plus platform. We hope this episode encourages meaningful discussions within your own organizations and provides practical takeaways that could be applied on your next shift. If you haven't already, be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes, and visit Echo to learn more about the programs and professionals working to advance safety, leadership, and education throughout the aviation community. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Valor Flight Crew podcast, where we continue to highlight the people, stories, and conversations that help move our industry forward.